Beauty calls and gives no warning. Shadows rise and wander on the day. In the twilight, in the quiet. We have flute.
Jason was talking about, spring. And as I walked out of the door this morning, I noticed there's some plants growing there, and the little green things are starting to come up. They're completely confused. And when I started to look, I've been looking, wanted to bring something that my wife had written, and I found ones that she had written but had never finished. And there was a very short one, and it seemed to have to do with winter. And when I was looking, it was winter out there, and it was before all the snow went away again. But this is Winter by Hiawatha. Winter's deep message comes in silence, looking into forever forests undressed, startling emptiness. In this barren time, we dream like the bear, laugh in snow showers, withstand raging storms, feel deer's soft gaze, opportunity to cleanse, let go, embrace silence, let peace come. Thank you.
So I've been getting into writing narrative poetry. So this will be a story in poetic form. And it's a ghost story. Ooh. It's called The Shadow Crew. So it was autumn, and the night had just begun to fall. I walked beside the seaport and transported quite a haul. Within a bag I carried some old console and some games. It doesn't matter what they were. I don't recall the names. Forget such useless niceties. What mattered next was this. Some distance from the docks, but not so distant I could miss, a cargo vessel, a shallow stuck, at least 10 stories tall, lay broken, hull corroded, insides visible to all, a relic from an age of commerce full of wealth and joy, no longer worth the energy to rescue or destroy. The lights that radiated from the city, unafraid, the lamps that filled the street and drove away the evening shade, they cast a semi-luminosity upon the scene, onto the ruined frigate, where the shadows and the sheen ran about the different sections, caught my eye and made me stay to contemplate the ship that now lay rotten, cold, and gray. I breathed but for a moment in reluctant high regard of a beauty dark and tragic, and a history that scarred the memory of an economic age of gold design. But then I thought I saw a movement at the waterline, yet when I tried to gaze at it, the movement slipped away, and only at the edges of my vision would it play, a motion dark and oily, moving tide-like to and fro. I feared that I might not be safe, and so I turned to go, but to my horror, I saw only darkness as if blind. Somehow a deeper night had crept upon me from behind and blocked all passages. The only thing unstrange was the vessel in the water, and it too began to change. The light and shadows all about the massive bulk explored, such that it seemed that there might be some occupants aboard. Bleak ghosts now formed the crew, adjusting cargo in the hold, delivered from some strange and distant state, from days of old, whose name would be forever lost, a label never read, and which I'd never understand if I should hear it said. The darkness formed a gangplank running from the bow to shore. Then carts with crates descended. Faceless forms performed this chore. As soon as one touched ground, another would line up, and then its teamster would hand me an invoice with a tarnished pen and indicate where I should sign to register receipt. My hands, as if my power over them were incomplete, they ached to sign the forms, but I retained sufficient sense to analyze what they would ask and how much the expense. Just nonsense words, not made of letters, rather arcane glyphs. And still the cargo piled up, as pale as Dover's cliffs. If I did not receive these goods, then who was there that would? It spoke of squander and of waste to leave them where they stood, the waste of honest effort to produce this merchandise. How thankless of me, just because I could not realize how economic mechanisms play their vital part. And yet, for all that shame intensifying in my heart, I could not take that final step, receive that debt as mine. Why should the world place such a load on me? I did not sign. I let the statements tumble to the pavement at my feet. The clatter from their falling echoed up and down the street. The shadowed handlers stopped their works and turned their hidden eyes to where I stood. I felt, but did not hear their silent cries. They circled me. My breath began to fog with sudden chill. One thrust forth another stack of forms for me to fill. They emanated sorrow, fear, frustration, and regret. Their auras wove around me like a silhouetted net. They spoke no words, presented no disputes that I might defy, no orders to protest, no accusations to deny, just expectation that I might contribute to the world. These silent threats with spinning force against my soul were hurled, that I was just a burden. I descended into shame. And yet within my heart one ember sparked into a flame. That flame was anger, bitterness at being called upon to take on these concerns when all I wished was to be gone. The flames were fanned by what self-worth had lodged within my bones. I threw the records and receipts back at these veiled unknowns and crossed my arms, both to defy their reasonless demands and to deflect what violence might follow from their hands. They grabbed me, and their touch was chilling even through my coat. Some pushed, some pulled, and forced me to the plank back to the boat. In fear of being captured, taken to some darkened hell, I freed myself with manic strength. But on the crates I fell. The specters hesitated, as if frightened that I might do something to their cargo out of wickedness and spite. I don't remember speaking, but I made my purpose plain. I'd wreck their precious shipment if they caused me further pain. They stopped in their pursuit of me. I knew that they discerned how serious I meant my threat, how hot my anger burned. Resigned, they turned away from me and walked back up the plank. The wind picked up. It seemed to me less pungent and less dank. The shadows oozed back to the dreadful places whence they came. The normal world seemed eager now to reassert its claim. The vessel showed no signs of hosting ghostly company. No walls of darkness barred my path of exit. I was free. But all the crates remained, as if reluctant to pass on, though now, as all the lights returned and gloomy shades had gone, I saw the boxes broken, damaged, injured past repair, with contents that had not escaped the detrimental air. So now that I could see my way, I started back for home. I'd had enough of strangeness. I no longer wished to roam. But something odd prevented me from going on my way. The bag containing purchases from earlier that day swung by my side with heaviness, a cold that paralyzed. I felt the contents longing to be fully utilized, but now that seemed a danger. An attempt to infiltrate it felt like someone else had ruled that this should be my fate, some powers of economy whom I had never met, who only wished to pull my strings without the least regret. I threw the bag upon the crates, debris upon the junk. I made my way back home and settled down onto my bunk, where most nights I would find some rest and help my mind to clear. But now I knew I would not sleep in comfort or with cheer. I looked around. What items there were truly owned by me, and which were brought by shadows from some place across the sea? What was it that I wanted, and which longings were my own, and which were chosen by some faceless menace, never known?
This is in sharp contrast to the last presentation. Downsizing. We reached the pinnacle and had our McMansion, 3,000 square feet and a 2-car garage. Boy, it felt good for a while. Not much furniture, enough to eat and sleep, a few books, and of course, the big screen TV. In the summer, it was the aircon. In the winter, the heat. How my wallet took a beating. I lost my job. And no problem, I thought. I've got the experience. The new one shouldn't be too difficult to find. Then I began the help-wanted grind. Month after month, no job, savings gone. The optimist says, shouldn't be long. As I sat on the sofa, looking at the bare walls, part of the falls, taken by so many, chasing the dream, is not all it seems. I thought maybe we shouldn't have upsized, kept it small, house and all, filled up the spirit instead of things. That's it.
Today, I'm going to be reading about winter. I'm in the winter mindset, despite the torrential downpours we've had recently. I grew up in Western Mass, and we had snow all season long. And we used to build these phenomenal fort structures, snow structures, and embellish it as it went along the winter season. And oftentimes we'd even bring in props from into our creative play from inside the house. And so I'm kind of vacillating back and forth in today's poem that I had actually written originally as flash fiction. It's called Winter White. Winter white surrounds me in swirls of windy whirls of snow talk, deep talk of comfort and wrapped woolen warmth against the backdrop of a flickering fire. Lapping tongues of orange-yellow firelight embrace the sturdy brick-walled chimney as light curls of silver-gray smoke escape, climbing the imagined latticework behind my eyes. I gaze out the bay windows at the blossoming white bouquets of crystalline snow forming there. Intricate, soft, hexagonal shapes of blanketed love protecting the earth, lying beneath in sweet, dreamlike sleep. It is time to snuggle under a purple chenille embroidered velvety afghan, tucked under the chin and fetal position feet of repose, a sculptured statue of frozen dance. I rest in this preferred position for hours on end, viewing the steady rhythm of descending snowflake patterns. I am tucked in for the moment, mesmerized by winter's slow song of soothing reassurance, a state of immeasurable satisfaction. Later, I will play in its drifts, folding myself into the molded snow banks, awaiting my recreational amusements. There will be a constructed igloo snow fort, its snow-white hard blocks harboring a rather large kitchen with shelves for snowball cookery, recipes of ice-cold concoctions sprinkled with rich, boiled, maple-sugared spoonfuls of love. Well-worn boot-shoe paths will speak of quick trips to the indoor kitchen to gather the mugs of cocoa and warm marshmallow puffs floating idly on top. My tongue trembles in expectation of that sweetness amidst the cold air forts of my creation. Tunnels will lead to other bedroom chambers, hidden away from the blizzards to follow, the storms of surprise that lurk beyond the horizons. It is here where we will whisper our snow secrets through the icicle-thin air, lost thoughts stuck to frozen walls. I will stealthily crawl through wintertime tunnels, privileged beacons of foreshadowed times, snapshots of future endeavors, hanging spikes of iced wonder. For now, I will dreamily create the snow fort of my heart's manifestations, leaning across the firelight flickers hanging ceremoniously in time-space, bridging lights of open-top snow structures, roof dimensions enclosing indulged sequence fantasies. Winter frolic amidst the storms of my life. Thank you.
Before I moved to the United States in 2012, I have worked with marketing for almost 20 years in a company called Sistel. The company offers the development of private pension plans for companies and their employees. Many of our clients, they are retirees. One of these retirees of Sistel called Luiz Carlos de Oliveira Cerqueira, or just Cerqueira. He used to come to our company and share his books, his adventures with writing. He was a very good writer. He was born in Rio de Janeiro in 1935. Through the love of poetry, we became friends. In 1996, in one of his visits, he talked about his wife's health. She was not well, and she was losing her sight in one of her eyes. When I heard this story, I wrote a poem dedicated to Creuza. Her name was Creuza, his lovely wife, and gave to him. The poem called Brilho de Alma, or Soul Shine. This poem was published by Cerqueira in 2002 as part of his book Quando Houver Nunca Mais, When There Is Never Again, this book here. Cerqueira wrote the introduction of my first poetry book published in 2003 in Brazil. Cerqueira passed away in February this year, and thank you, my dear friends, for inspiring me. I'm very grateful. I'm sharing with you in Portuguese first and after in English the poem that I wrote for Creuza, his wife, in 1996. Brilho de alma, soul shine. De verde azul profundo, como o mar que beira os sonhos de menina, tens a visão total de teus horizontes. Os teus sonhos, a alegria, os projetos de vida, tudo mergulhado sob a regência de um maestro divino, que vai compondo teus caminhos com altos e baixos, com partituras incompletas que o teu coração radiante vai preenchendo. O que o espelho vê é difuso, embaçado como respiração que se faz rente à janela em dia de chuva. Mas o mesmo espelho difuso reflete de maneira grandiosa todo o sol que tu trazes no peito. É como o dia nublado clareando, revelando o teu íntimo forte, uma alma corajosa, pulsante e por isso vitoriosa. Encontres o teu dia de sol, porque ele sempre te aqueceu por dentro e sempre transbordou ondas de calor a todos os que tiveram ou te têm próxima. O teu brilho interior ultrapassa o limite dos olhos, e se um deles se fecha, é para permitir que o outro brilhe ainda mais, reunindo todas as suas forças, como holofotes em dia de um show eterno chamado existência. Deixe o verde azul profundo derramar lágrimas se necessário. A chuva completa o sol, e o arco-íris é inevitável. Arco sagrado de sua íris multicolorida, multiplicadora de emoções, que emociona, completa e enche de luz os nossos dias. Por isso, jamais deixes de cultivar teu mais puro brilho, a alma. Now in English. I translated yesterday, I hope you like it. Soul shine. Deep blue-green like the sea that borders the girl's dreams. You have the full view of your horizons. Your dreams, the joy, the life's projects, all immersed under the regency of a divine conductor, who is compose your ways with ups and downs, with incomplete sheet music, that your radiant heart goes feeling. What the mirror sees is diffuse, blurry like the breath you make near the wind on a rainy day. But the same diffuse mirror effect reflects in a big way all the sun you bring in your heart. It's like the cloudy day clearing, revealing your strong inner self, a brave, pulsating soul, and therefore victorious. Find your sunny day, because he always warmed you inside, and always overflowed heat waves to all who had or have you next. Your inner glow exceeds the limit of the eyes, And if one of them closes, it is to allow the other to shine even more, gathering all your strength, like spotlights on concert day, of an eternal show called existence. Let the deep blue-green shed tears if necessary. The rain completes the sun, and the rainbow is inevitable. A sacred bowl of your multicolored iris, a multiplier of emotion that thrills, completes, and fills of light our days. Therefore, never stop cultivating your purest shine, the soul. Thank you so much.
I have a poem called The Elephant in the Room. Ancestors of mine entered into this time and place to celebrate a dance. And then we were invited into the council of all living things, escorted by an elephant. You know, there's an elephant in the room, my friends, an elephant strong and true, and he's seeing a shaken time with species dying and webs of life interrupted strangely. The starfish have turned to mush in the Pacific. The dolphins and whales are shell-shocked with sonar in the Atlantic. And the manatees are weary of oil spills in the Gulf Coast. The bats have white nose and the bees are no more, and the moose in the woods of Maine are fading, and so it goes. There is an elephant in the room. We cannot ignore anymore. There is an elephant in the room, and we can barely squeeze around him. There's an elephant in this room that can no longer be denied. This not being able to see, it's a terrible kind of lie. This not being able to see is making so many die. Seeing the elephant in the room can no longer be denied. Indeed, there are so many species leaving us. So are we going to stay alive? Enter into the council of all living things. See the elephant strong and true. Look into his eyes because he is waiting for you. The ancestors nod in agreement. It is time, it is time, it is time. It is time for us to take our place in this council, because we are just one of many living things, treasuring all that is alive, taking our part with the greater whole. This can no longer be denied. Thank you.
I was traveling north to the next state, traveling home along a tree-lined, curvy, but fast-moving highway. 2 lanes on each side. In the left lane, I was, as usual, going faster than the speed limit, but not super fast, when suddenly you roared into existence behind me, up and over that little hill in my rear view mirror. Apparently not going fast enough to suit you, you quickly shifted into the right lane to pass me. Almost no room to my left against the highway divide, and a narrow shoulder of road on your right did not intimidate you. Leaning into your accelerator, you roared past with no thought of the results of your actions. But you were so close, I felt the waves of the vibration of your car, waves of wind and passing, pulsing energy, and felt, no, knew that a hand from some angel was the only thing that passed between us like a thin sliver, protecting us both from the ripping apart of the side of my car like a can opener. Time was momentarily suspended. That's how I knew that the hand was real. A half inch, maybe an inch, was all that separated us. I've never forgotten this, but did you ever even know?
I'm known for telling a joke a day, and I just want to tell you a Rudolph story. Rudolph takes place across the ocean. There's a couple in Poland who are weather hounds, and they listen to the weather report from Rudolph from Riga, Latvia, and the weather report from Bernd in Berlin, and they compare notes. Now, Bernd says that the weather is going to be precipitous and below freezing, and so it's going to all fall as snow. And Rudolph in Riga says that it's going to precipitate, but the weather is very warm, and it's going to all fall as rain. So the husband and the wife are arguing. She likes Rudolph's forecast. He likes burns. And finally, she gets tired of the argument. She stamps her foot and says, Rudolph the Red knows rain, dear. One more brief one. What is the secret to telling a good eyeball joke? The answer is, the cornea, the better. Time is so brief.
Sky is the season grieves, not you, not I. Oh, we have awakened sweet and had our birth, and that's the end of earth. And we have toiled and smiled and kept the light, and that's the end of night.
My name is Kurt. My name is Nina.
I'm Haley. Hi, my name is Jake. We're the Hiller volleyball team.
My name is Emma. My name is May. My name is Shelby. My name is Sophie.
We're Alma Gal, and we love HCAM.
We love HCAM.
And I volunteer for HCAM TV.
And I watch HCAM TV.
And I love HCAM TV.
And I love HCAM TV.
We love HCAM TV. Woo!
Are you worried about letting your child take the wheel? Maybe you should also be worried about what you're doing behind the wheel. Have you ever sent a quick text, just this once? Well, that might turn into a catastrophic accident. Monkeys see what monkeys do. If you do it, why wouldn't your child? In a child's brain, almost all things their parents do, they can do too. 78% of teen drivers surveys text and drive. 59% said their parents do it too. Stop texting and driving, because if you do it, your child will too.
This show often talks to people who have interesting hobbies or careers or different things that they have going on that affect our community.
I'm Mary Arnott, your host.
There is a huge need for providing food for individuals and family.
And that's the key. It's working well together.
You can see more episodes online at our website, hcam.tv.
Hi, I'm Tim Kilduff, and this is Business Matters. Talk a little bit about the history. I mean, you were born into something pretty special, weren't you?
Yeah.
The shop is a safe haven for a lot of people, young and old.